What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Drew, and this is Vintage and Stuff. It's been a while, but we are back. Lots of episodes ready in the bank recorded for you guys, for your listening and viewing pleasure. Today we have Jake of Thrift Market App. He's spent the last few years working hard on developing an app, a reselling app that utilizes AI technology. We all know AI is taking over the world. All you got to do is watch friggin' Terminator, and you know what's going to happen. But AI can help us. It can help us out. If you're not utilizing ChatGPT for all your stupid questions these days, then what the hell are you really doing? But AI is there. AI is here, and it's not going anywhere. So what Jake has done is he's created the Thrift Market app that utilizes AI to authenticate fakes from real t-shirts. And it's dropped now on the App Store. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'll let Jake explain it to you. I have tested it out. It looks like a great product and, a lot to be developed over time. AI is a learning technology where over time it learns and gets better. So anyway, we'll talk about all that on the episode. So let's just dive right in. Welcome back to the show. Going to be dropping weekly episodes again. Thank you guys all for being here. And let's get into it.
Welcome to Vintage and Soft with True High Fits. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Soft with True High Fits. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Soft. True High Fits. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Soft. Vintage and Soft. We got vintage clothing by the rack. Yeah, just check out my Insta. How you gon' argue with that? Everything you see, I manifest. I'm an architect. I think I'ma run it back. We got vintage clothing by the rack. Just check out my Insta. How you gon' argue with that? Everything you see, I manifest. I'm an architect. I think I'll have some of that.
Jake, thank you for coming on the show, man. Welcome.
Drew, I appreciate it, man. Long time coming.
Hell yeah. We've been talking for a while. You've been in works on this project you're doing here for a long time. And I'm stoked to chat to you about it, learn everything you've been up to. So from my understanding, you've been, we're here to talk about your app, Thrift Market, also yourself, your history. There's a lot to jump into. I got questions about how you made this happen, what you're up to. Before we dive into all that, let's kind of talk about like your connection, your history to the vintage market. I get interested in this shit because I like when people do something for the vintage market that's not just selling vintage. We all sell vintage, but I think there's so much more opportunities in this world besides that. And that's the people who are most successful are the ones who are doing something different. So what's your connection to vintage? How did you even get into this market?
Yeah, for sure. I got into it as a seller. As somebody that just started as a hobby, honestly. Grew up in the 90s, was born in 87. So grew up in the 90s and always just loved that era from Fresh Prince to Martin to just different movies and things like that. The styles, the rooms, just my room. My sister always says, like, you dress like your bedroom looked when you were a kid. That's literally what she tells me even in my 30s. So it's always a compliment to me in all honesty. It feels good. But literally, I got into it heavy right when I graduated from college. I graduated from Tuskegee University, and I came home from school, and me and my dad actually went to a thrift store, and he had came back and he had a 1997 Minnesota Gophers Final Four snapback. I'm from Minnesota, so all things Minnesota I love. So when he had
because you're rocking the Timberwolves script right now.
Yeah, you see it. Yeah,
nice.
For sure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're repping the brand, but I gotta have something vintage on. But no, when he bought that for me, I'm like, dude, where'd you get this at? I've never seen this. He was like, at the thrift store right up the street. And it's closed down now. It was an old Sabres over in St. Paul where I used to live at. But when he told me that, I went, and dude, it was like I went crazy. There was so much polo. Literally, that's literally what was heavy back in like 2011. That's when I really got heavy, started into it. when I went, man, the racks were full of low. It was full of gray tag Nikes. There was a lot of snapbacks. That was like the Wiz Currency, Big Sean era. So
Hell
snapbacks
yeah.
were in like crazy. So
Great era.
I was finding all of this stuff going crazy. And it was just like, man, I'm just gonna start rocking this stuff. And people would always ask, like, dude, where'd you get that from? Where'd you find this? Dude, I got this at the thrift. And enough people started asking. I've always been an entrepreneur, always kind of had like a hustler's mind. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna start selling this. And it's funny because, dude, I used to cop. You guys used to do wholesale back in the day, like way back in the day. You guys used to do wholesale boxes, and I grabbed a couple from you guys when I had first got started because I started selling online. And I started doing little pop-ups at sneaker events and stuff. So I just wanted to really collect my inventory. So I would grab boxes from you guys. I'd hit the thrifts all around town and just start looking on. My dad was a big Craigslist dude. So I'd find little things here and there on Craigslist, but that got me started. And then once I started making some money doing it, it started off really slow. It started off really slow. I would say in 2016 is when it really kind of blew up for me. I started doing pop-up shops here in the Twin Cities. And we called them the Kings of Vintage pop-up shops. And I did it with some other resellers here around the Twin Cities. But this was the first time that I started doing buy, sell, and trade. So we would do buy, sell, and trade, sneakers, streetwear, and these blew up. We would have lines waiting. They would sell out. We'd make really good money. But we did about 6 or 7 of these and made like $50,000-$60,000. And I'm like, dude, we should open up a store. So yeah, it was crazy. Like, and we just did it 2 days. It was weekends. So we would do it like every other weekend. But on those weekends, we would
And
all come together.
where were you doing them at? In just random spaces that you could find to rent, or?
Yeah, so we would rent out. There was an art gallery actually. It's turned into some condos, gentrification, down in Minneapolis. But it used to be like a dope artist gallery, and he'd give us access, and we just turn it into our own shit. So we'd bring in our posters, we'd bring in our video games, TVs, have a whole display wall. It looked like our own store for that weekend. We'd
Nice.
come in, it'd go crazy. So that really built kind of the name of the Kings of Vintage. And then in 2017, I opened up a store here in Minneapolis called the Kings of Vintage, and it was great. We did really well. We were open for 2 years, and we were the first really buy, sell, and trade store here in the Twin Cities. So that incorporated sneakers, vintage, streetwear. There weren't any, not doing all three. So we kind of were the first to incorporate that here, and it went really well, birthed a lot of other stores here in the Twin Cities. So that was really dope. And in end of 2018, 2019, we got robbed. And when we got robbed, that kind of screwed us, dude. We got screwed on our insurance. We had insurance and everything, but the insurance people didn't give us anything back. They didn't give us anything back. And we got hit for like $15,000, and that's a lot being a new store, man. That's
What
hard to
happened?
bounce back.
They busted in at night.
Oh, I hate telling this story because I get mad every single
Dude,
time.
well, you gotta tell the story now, man. We're
I
here.
know. So I was a new dad actually, man. My son, he'll be 7 actually in like 3 weeks, but he was a
Congrats,
newborn
man.
at the time. Thanks. And I had been at the store every single day. I hadn't missed a day. It was like, this was the one day I was like, yo, I need you guys to open up for me. And I gotta do some stuff with my kid.
Yeah.
The one time I did not go there and open up, I guess, got robbed at gunpoint. And some dudes came in and took a bunch of our stuff, like right when we opened and stuff like that. I have a lot of mixed thoughts on that whole thing. But yeah, the one day that I wasn't there, my spot got hit. And when the insurance people came in, they were just like, yeah, this seems fishy. I'm like, bro, I got cameras. We got everything. That day, the cameras were off. Like, there were some things, like some stuff just didn't add up. And I'm like, I guess everything happens for a reason, and it is what it is. I learned a lot just having a store, and just having that experience. But I also had a whole shit ton of inventory. Like, dude, I gotta get this off. And like, it came a little. I low key, once the store closed, I kind of stopped selling for a little bit, man. That blew me, bro. I took a hit, and that messed
That's
with
got
my
to be
mental.
hard. That's got to be hard, man. I mean, I feel like right now in the market, he keeps seeing these stores getting hit pretty bad. Like, where was it? I forget, but there was a few guys that had
Atlanta
like,
just got hit.
yeah, Atlanta
Atlanta,
got hit. Two
Atlanta,
stores, right, in
yeah.
Atlanta.
I
Cars
know
driving
Full
right through the
Circle.
fucking.
Yeah, Full Circle got hit, man. Shout out to them, man. Them is the homies too, man. But
That
yeah, no,
sucks.
man,
I've heard of
it
a bunch of
sucks,
it
bro.
happening, and it happens a lot now. I mean, we're in like a tough time in the economy, and you see the crime start to rise more when that shit goes going
Yeah,
down, right? So, I feel for you, man. You know, that's tough, man. It sounds a little fishy to me. So, and yeah, if insurance ain't coming to save you, it's like hard to recover from a hit like that. Plus, like then you have all this trust issue with your
dude,
people, and you
you
have all
just
these other
feel some
things.
type of
Man,
way
that's hard.
now. Yeah, you feel so. It was like cool, man. I had all this inventory, had to figure some shit out. So I started. I like during the interim, I would do little pop up shops again. That was just went back to my roots. Pop up shops were still cool. Wasn't the same thing. And then like like I'm in Minnesota, and so I was here during the George Floyd stuff, during the pandemic stuff, and it was a crazy time. But like looking back in retrospect, I'm glad I didn't have my store, because my store was in like one of the prime areas where a lot of the riots happened at. So I was able to recoup all my inventory, and I started selling online probably like a year, maybe a little bit before like the pandemic really hit. So, you started to see the live start coming in, and the live started to pop up and stuff like that. So, during that pandemic year, the live started going crazy. So I myself, I hosted an event called the Black Wall Street, where I would have other resellers that just had like dope black pieces. We would all hop on and selling. It went really well. But um, that's kind of what I transitioned to, started selling off a lot of that inventory. But during that time is kind of how thrift market came to fruition, because I was working in tech at that time. When the store closed, dude, I had a newborn kid, and my wife was like, bro, you got a degree, like you need to utilize that. Go get a job, bro. Like go get a corporate job. So I had talked to some friends, and some of my friends had worked at Microsoft and stuff, and I was like, dude, you're good at sales. Like, why don't you just get into tech? Like, that's where it's at. Like, you should just like get in that space. So I did.
So,
So I
what's your
worked.
degree in?
Yeah, I got a double degree in business management and in sales and marketing.
Nice, good
So
for you, man.
yeah, cool degree. I worked a lot in banking before, but came over to the tech side, and it was a great decision. I worked, started out at smaller like startup companies and things like that, smaller tech companies, but I left Oracle in for like some of the bigger tech hubs in the world, honestly. And started to just literally focus full time on thrift market. But when I was doing that, that's where the idea came, because I bought some fakes, man. Like that's how this whole shit came. All of it. Like I was working a deal out. It was like three Pocs, a Nas, and a Snoop, and it was for like 4 Gs. Like I had told, he had it for like 5,500, and it was like 4 Gs. I'm like, dude, that's not a bad price. It was like higher than like the normal fakes, but like low enough to where like they may not just know what they have. Like I may be able to. So I tried to. I got them, dude. When I got them, one was dry rot, and the other two were just like completely boot out of this world boots. And it was like, dude, but the pictures that he took were real tees. That's why they were real tees. The pics that he took
Oh,
were
so they
real tees.
swapped the tees from the
They
pictures.
swapped them.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
happened to me actually on that happened to me on friggin' Depop for a pair of Jinkos once, where like the picture
Wow.
was real OG Jinko jeans, and then I get this like made in China bootleg thing that was so obviously so tell me, when you got these tees, this is interesting because what gave it away? You're saying they're super obvious, but like a lot of people don't know what those obvious signs are. What was it that gave it away?
Yeah, well, one of them, the image, and one of them looked like a Mexican Tupac. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just, it was, it was just all the way off. It was all the way off. And then the other one was on a newer Hanes tee, much newer Hanes tee, and it was the print just was, you could. So I guess for those that have been doing it for a while, you can tell a lot by the ink. The ink is a really big indicator. The fade, how that looks on the front and the back is a really big indicator. And when I saw just how the ink was looking, and I was able to compare it with other ones that I've seen online, and just ones I had one of these in my closet already. So I wanted to compare. Completely fade. The fade was off. The color content, like contrast, was off. It was bad. And then I was already 0 for 3. So I'm like, there's not going to be one good in here when everything else has been bad. So I was like, dude, there's nothing out here that verifies what we're doing. There's, essentially for vintage to be $1 billion marketplace, there is no actual marketplace that controls vintage from an authentication standpoint, from a pricing standpoint, from none of these areas that most areas have regulation and, regulation and rules and things under, like there's no procedure. So I started to just think like, is there actually a way for me to take a picture on my phone and it verify and authenticate whether or not this shirt is actually real or not? And then I started asking some of the dev guys that I knew that were a lot smarter than me on that side. Like, yo, is this actually possible? And they were like, yeah, actually, this shit might actually be able to be done. And then the wheels got to rolling for me.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I love it. So like this, just in my own experience lately with the fakes, I was buying stuff out of Asia from pickers over there, and I would get bundles, and every bundle there'd be a couple fakes. And I'm still on the fence if they knew or they just didn't know, because there's a lot of all the fakes come out of Asia, right? And like they were picking in rag yards over there. So I don't know if they knew or not, but anyway, I would get these fakes in those bundles, and the prices were cheap enough that I didn't really care. But eventually I had to stop buying from these guys because I'm like, every time the best shirt in the bundle was fake. You know what I mean?
Fake. Yeah, that sucks.
And then I had a guy bring me a bundle like 2 weeks ago from the States. And it's getting so bad now in the marketplace that every time I see certain shirts, like if I see rap tees or I see Nirvana tees or I see any certain high-end tees, I'm instantly triggered. Instantly triggered that they're going to be fake. So I'm thinking they're fake before I even look at them usually.
Mm-hmm.
And what I notice about them, like you said, the ink is not important. Rubbery ink is like a telltale sign of like a new bootleg. Although it's tricky because sometimes the old ones can still be a little bit like rubbery, but not too rubbery. So if it's super rubbery,
but it's more, sticky, almost like erasery rubbery on the older ones versus like that smooth rubber, I would say, on the newer ones. I think that would be the difference.
And then also you have like the cracking. There's all these fakes with they crack them, but the cracking gets like super vertical. It's not like consistent cracking. So if you have a tee that has like very consistent vertical cracking, that's a big telltale sign on the print. Obviously tags, if you really want to get nerdy about it. But the problem is the tags are real. Some of the fake tags are really fucking good. Like you got to get real nerdy on that shit to know.
And so what we do is we have a checkpoint system. Like that's like when you log in and you're uploading, there's 6 checkpoints pretty much that you have to go through because it's going to be the tag, and because the tag may be missing, but that doesn't mean that it's fake. So there's the tag, there's going to be the stitching. So you're going to be able to see we have to see the sleeve in that bottom end right here, how you fold it. Like there's instructions to show you to fold it a certain way. Like it's going to walk you through the steps. Boom, you put it that way. Then you're going to get a full graphic front, and then you're going to reverse it. We want to see what it looks like on the back as well. But we have these different checkpoints because through these, you can start to see, definitely with machine learning and the technology, you're able to see patterns. And we'll get into it, but one of the biggest things that we're learning is that we're going to be able to teach this so much that it's going to start teaching us things that we don't even recognize. And that's going to be the real golden point of being able to authenticate and being able to verify.
So we're obviously into the app now. Give us the walkthrough. So, from my understanding, this is going to be a marketplace.
Yep.
Obviously, it's called Thrift Market. It's on your shirt there. It's also going to be a marketplace that authenticates, so you can be sure that what you're buying is real. So, in your
Yeah.
words, give us the description of what you've built here and everything.
Yeah. So I guess like our saying is we provide comfort to sellers and we security to buyers in the transaction process. Like just simple as day, that's what we want to be able to do. So I'm going to walk you through kind of a buyer journey and a seller journey. As the seller, when I'm uploading my photos, just like I'm uploading on eBay, Depop, Grilled, or whatever, I'm going to go through that regular process. But that process is those 6 photos. It's those 6 photos, and then you can add additional ones if you want to, just like ultimately like really verify. You can add multiple photos, but we need those 6. That process is the same. The only difference is when you're taking those pictures, our AI is doing the work. Our AI is authenticating and verifying. So once it's uploading, once you're putting that information in, it's going to pop up. It's going to say this item passed. It's good to go. Go ahead and upload. This item did not pass. And we're going to have an option where you can send it in to us and we can manually check it. We can look through it like that, or you just can't upload it on there. So everything that's uploaded on there goes through the AI. That's kind of authentication layer 1. Once an item is purchased from a buyer, it will then be shipped into our authentication center. So think of like StockX, how you got to ship your stuff in. We'll ship it into our authentication center. It'll get verified and authenticated with the technology and also by hand, because what we have not been able to verify and authenticate is dry rot. We haven't been able to do that yet. And as you know, a t-shirt can be brand new, it can be real, it can be vintage, look great, and when you get it, it crumbles. It literally just tears apart. But you don't know that until it's purchased already and you've made that transaction. So we want to be that middleman almost in that process, just making sure that you're paying what you're getting for, especially when you're paying higher dollars and you're spending a lot of money on your vintage tees.
So you're gonna be able to send it in to you guys. You'll authenticate or you'll verify no dry rot, and then you'll send it off to the customer.
Correct.
Wow, that's a big operation. But very, very interesting. I haven't heard anybody been able to do that, because that's essentially what StockX does for their authentication, correct?
But they don't use any AI. They use all people. And that's a big difference. You face a lot of lawsuits when you're trusting people, especially resellers that you're hiring. That can profit if they swap some fakes out and put it in their collection. So I want to alleviate that as much as possible. The ultimate goal is to think of going to the airport and you're checking your shit in. We want to be able to create machines like that where they just will go through a machine and we can't tell dry rot. We can authenticate all the tags and it just kind of gets scanned through and then it gets shipped out to the buyer of the product. But
I would say eventually the AI will be able to do it. I mean, again, we should talk more about the AI, but I think because to the naked eye, we can see signs of dry rot before we touch it, because the fabric has a sheen or this weird. It kind of has a different sheen, not texture but color tone to it. It's still black, but it looks different. And eventually, I think if AI keeps going the way, it's going to keep going the way it's going.
It's going to. No, it'll be figured out. It will. It'll be figured out through AI.
And people that don't know what dry rot is, just who are listening, first time people on the show or whatever, or if you're not big in vintage, dry rot means that your t-shirt disintegrates over time, always black dye, because in the 80s and 90s, they used a cheaper black dye that had a high acidity content that ate away the cotton. So your t-shirt will just become so disintegrated that it rips very easily, or literally turns to powder if it's really, really dry rot. So that's what dry rot is.
Yeah.
So talk about AI. I want to know obviously we're in the era of AI. Everybody
Yes.
knows what the fuck's going on. You can go on and create AI videos. There's all these fake videos coming out now of like things. I saw a fishing video of all things the other day where I'm like, it looks like this beautiful setting. This guy's on this rock. And then I saw the comments and the guy's like, that rock isn't there. That you can't even fish there. Like, that's some bullshit AI. I'm like, God damn.
AI is a crazy thing, man. And it can be used for a lot of things, good and bad. And I think it's just about how you're using it and how you're utilizing it. But it's dope. It's dope. It's a dope tool. I use it in business. I use it a lot just in my everyday, like making calendars, making my schedule for the day. Like I got ADHD. So this is like my own virtual assistant or my personal assistant a lot of times. But for like thrift market, it really is just about, so AI is a machine learning. That's all it is. It's gathering thousands, if not millions of photos of different items, different things. Let's say you want to verify like the age of, I think of it as like looking at a tree almost, like when you cut a tree, you can tell the age of it by how you're doing it. That's a lot what AI can do in a lot of instances, especially with our data. We wanted to be able to take a picture of this and it can go back and see the age of these tags, the stitching on it. We can see that it's was made 30 years ago by the wear and tear of this, the stitching on this material. And even to the dry rot point, letting it be able to almost scan it in a sense to where it can, like, I don't know if like heat radiation or whatever it may be, but like you can see like AI.
So let me just try to explain. So I've always been intrigued by this. Like ChatGPT is what everybody fucks with mostly now. They're like that was like the first tool that came out. You could probably go and make your schedule for your day on ChatGPT, or you could like go on ChatGPT, ask it. I need like I've used it for the podcast intro. I'm like, pump me out a podcast intro for a show about vintage, blah blah blah. It gives you this like perfectly
robotic answer almost.
Yeah, but very palatable and very like it can be robust, right? And from my understanding, what it's doing is like it's taking data from the internet, which is like the craziest database in the world, and it's getting all its knowledge from there, and then it's spitting out the data that you're requiring or the process you're requiring or whatever it is you're asking it. Now, my question for thrift market AI would be, do you have to start by sort of showing it the fakes, showing it the real, and then it starts to learn and then build from there?
Exactly. So we've gathered data dude, and we just put lots of fakes on there. We put lots of real ones on there. We put tags on there. We put stitching models on there. We put all of that on there, and it starts to read it, so it gets 20%, 30%. I'd say as of date right now, we're probably at about like a 45 to 60% accuracy rate. We're revving it up week by week right now, so we should be good by launch date. But even then, it's still going to be testing, and that's why also it's going to come into the authentication center in the beginning to make sure that everything that's going in is all the way legit, because I don't want to have any of those problems. But it's literally just learning it, and it's like loading, like just uploading. Okay, we've processed this much information. We can gather these type of tags now. We can gather these type of tees. So even if a t-shirt hasn't been seen, and it's like a new t-shirt to hit the market, if it hits the right checkpoints within our AI, it should still be able to tell you what era it's from. It'll tell you like, no, the stitching on this, the tag on this, the ink base depth on this is 20 years old. It should be able to do that.
Very cool. So yeah, it's a continuous building process.
Yes.
It kind of requires obviously the data that you've done, but then as this site gets used by more and more people, it'll get smarter and smarter.
It
and
helps
smarter.
It. Yes, that's growing the database for it to understand more.
So then you're probably going to have like hackers, because right now, like the Asian fake business, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, they're crushed. They're making bank off fakes probably, right? There's people making money off fakes. So they're going to be out there trying to figure out how to bunk the system.
I know. I think that's why we had, and I think in the beginning, I didn't even want the authentication centers, but for that reason that we've both experienced, man, if you're buying and you're doing this a lot, and the numbers show that more people are buying online, more people are buying vintage. So the more you buy, the chances of you buying something fake are become higher and higher. Man, I'll wait that extra 2 days for it to go to an authentication center and get verified. Then it comes to me, and I know that I can wipe the sweat off because it's already been authenticated. That's totally. Kind of the value of that second layer of protection that we want to bring.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning that's valid, but it seems to me that won't. As you grow and as this gets big, that's going to be too much volume. So the AI will hopefully be at a point where it's 100% or up to like 80-90% at a point where then you don't have to do that because, and I guess too, do you have protections like for sellers? I guess because now you're verifying in person, so it's fine, but eventually too, like protections for buyers. So like, is there some sort of guarantee you're giving?
No, I don't. We're not doing any guarantees, but what we like, I think our thing is we're not going to send it if it's not real, and you will be fully refunded. If it comes into our authentication center and we see that one, it was switched, or it's dry rot, or it is a fake, then you are fully refunded. And that seller, I've been debating with my team, are they automatically like blocked off for selling a fake, or do they get like a 1, 2, 3 chance? That's still up in the air. I have to make that decision soon. But okay, cool. I want to eliminate people that have a tendency to sell fakes, and then what, they could just go make another account. But our technology is getting better as well, and we can track VPNs, we can track that stuff. So if you're trying to do it on the same phone or we can track that, so it won't happen. So we just want to be made it to be secure.
So essentially, it's a marketplace. Sellers come on, they can post, they go through the shirts go through the process, it verifies it. Second layer of protection is you guys authenticating in your hub. Buyers can be confident that what they're buying is real because it's gone through the process. Now I want to dive into like the building of this app and the process of you kind of creating it. Obviously you come from tech, which gave you the idea. Now you say you have a team, right?
Yeah.
Now tell us about the process of creating the app, building the app, getting this thing off the ground. I know that you said you had funding on the table, but you didn't go with the funding. You bootstrapped this yourself with your own funding. So
yeah,
walk us through how this came to light process-wise.
Yeah. Man, it has been a journey, in all honesty. When the idea came, I started to look on YouTube, honestly, like, how do you start an app? How do you build an app? And then it just came with like, you need to build a team. You need to find somebody to build it. If you're not a technical founder, find a technical founder, just doing these basic things. So I started just the process, honestly. And then what I did, really what got it started, like to understand the process, I left Oracle and I joined a startup company. That was a small tech company. And what they did was build apps for companies. That's literally what they did. A crazy story. Like, I negotiated a deal with them. Like, I worked for them for 2 years. I'll get you guys to 5 million in revenue. You guys build my app. They let me go in 6 months because they had lost their biggest contract. And I literally closed $1 million deal the day before they laid me off. Like, crazy. And they didn't build the app. And they didn't build the app for me either. Like, they refused to do that work as well. So, man, this process has been like, dude, you got to have thick skin. It's hard. It's hard. One, figuring out really what concept I wanted this to be. Like, do I just want it to be authentication? That's cool, but like, what else does the market need? Like, I'm a real reseller, dude. Like, I do this for real. And like, what are things that I would want on an app? So like we have thrift market maps. So whenever you're traveling and you go to a different place, you could pull up thrift market maps. It'll pull up all the resale shops. It'll pull up like all the Goodwills and things like that, direct you to there, give you that access. So yeah, dope. Like resale shops can upload their stores on there, add their location on there. Has to be verified and like on Google for it to be on the page. You can't just go
So
to somebody's garage.
is the app populating directly off Google, or does everything have to be submitted?
Uh, this initial one, we've kind of like they've done off of Google, and then we want to like have people like we want to do a campaign to like have people submit your stores in, upload your stores, and then it'll be populated into Google Map or Thrift Market Maps for all of the users to have access to. So we have that. We're going to have live selling with auction selling being such a big thing in vintage. We will have that function, but it's going to be different. Um, Versus some of the other apps where like that the whole app is just everybody doing it. That's crowded. That's very crowded for me. Like even for sellers, like it's so like, oh man, I hope people join. I hope people we want to make it be more catered so it'd be like only verified and authorized sellers will be able to do live selling. It will be like schedule based as well. So like you can only pick certain times, and when that one seller is on, that's the only seller that's on the app. And like, how does that scale? I don't know. I don't know. We're figuring out how that scales once it grows and more people want to do it longer. And how do we figure that process out? But for right now, it'll be the only one on that app, which gives versus like a small chunk of that app being on there. The full app is on there now. Everybody's viewing your stuff now, and can get a chance to shop with you. So, just I think bigger opportunity for sellers to get market exposure, to get market recognition, and to be able to just sell to a bigger, wider audience. Having that type of eyes on your live auction. I think that'd be big for us. And then just really keeping like a marketplace once we start really getting sales. And we have some data from, obviously other resale markets, but like, what are these t-shirts selling for? What's the marketplace on these shirts? What does it look like right now? Having that data available is important to us. It's tricky because there's so many styles, there's so many genres, there's so many different categories. How do we specify on that? So we're still working on that aspect, but
So you're talking about creating a directory per se of value so that the sellers can have like some background of what their thing might be worth,
essentially, yes, kind of like a live marketplace.
which is tricky. I've talked about this a lot when the live thing was really popping off during COVID. We had talks. Everyone was talking about this kind of idea where, because again, it goes back to StockX, right? StockX has like a market where you have the highest bidder, lowest bidder on any shoe. So like my shoe is worth X amount of dollars right now in the marketplace because it's kind of like a live telltale market. But the difference with shoes is that a shoe is a shoe is a shoe. If it's like a Yeezy that came out a few years ago, that shoe is that shoe.
That's what it is.
But a Tupac t-shirt, there's 100 prints, and there's 100. It was made for 20 years or 10, 15 different years, and then you have like different fades and different conditions. So it's like it's way more tricky for vintage.
And what people are willing to pay on it also is very, very different as well. Like what people are willing to pay on a t-shirt is different. Like my grill and your grill may be different, and what you're willing to pay on your grill versus what I'm willing to pay on that same shirt or on my grill. So that's a challenge. That part's a challenge. So that's one of the hopes, is to be able to have like a scale on what these tees have sold for. And maybe that's what we'll just be able to do, is have ranges on what these type of demographic of t-shirts or categories of t-shirts sell for. But having exact prices on every t-shirt is a mission impossible almost.
Yeah, it is. I think you can collect data, and that's the key. Data is so valuable, right? There's a business in just selling the data or having the data be available to people or some version of that, or
Oh,
using it
big
for your
time.
app to, you work in tech. Data is king, right?
That
That's
is
like,
what drives businesses to steal your data because they can sell that information because it's worth so much. It's how companies market and brand. So
I think a lot of people would want this data, especially in the fashion business, and vintage dealers would want the data. A lot of people would want the data. I don't know if anyone's come up with a really robust way to like organize the data yet that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So no, we're working on it. We've got some ideas, and we've got some ideas. It just it's a lot of work. It's almost harder than the authentication aspect because you're playing with numbers now, and now you've got to do historical data, and you've got to do backtracking, and there's a lot on what's been the history of this price to project what it's going to be. So that process is a little bit more in depth and a little bit more analytical than I think I anticipated, but that's what I've learned in this process. Like you in my head, it was just this big ass idea, this big robust app. But man, once I got the ticket on how much it cost and like the timeline, then it's like, all right, well, what can we just get out to the market to make it work and to start getting feedback from people on it? We've had to shift a lot and had to we've had ups and downs. Like, dude, the app was ready back in the summer. We had a developer, and he just like left. He like sent me an email the week before we were supposed to submit to the app store. Like, hey, I gotta leave. I'm gonna be away. Sorry. Here's the data. Figure it out. And haven't heard from him since. Haven't heard from him since, dude. Like literally, So it's been things like that you have to deal with. It. It's just like, dude, what the fuck? But all in all, like even walking away from the 2.5 million was wild.
So tell us about that. Like, you work in tech. Tech is the biggest business right now, and most startups, they get funded through funding rounds or like
Correct.
capital investment rounds, and they could go like 10 years before they're turning a profit, and they're just
Yeah.
continually getting funding from these investors.
Yeah.
So many companies that you look at and you think, man, they're crushing it, are just running on capital
Uber.
investment and not turning a profit
StockX,
at all.
Uber, all of these ground. A lot of these companies are on VC capital right now. And so what venture capital funding is pretty much, I believe in your company. Your company's doing pretty well. I'll give you $1 million, but I want 10% equity stake in your company. I don't need, this isn't a loan. I don't need the money back. But when you sell your company or when your company goes to the market, I want my payback. That's when I get my investment return. The idea for technology comes. So I studied a lot. The evaluation, StockX started with a $2.5 million evaluation. That they got $2.5 million to start on like a $15 million eval. They're now worth $3.5 billion. That's what their current evaluation would be. So essentially, they could go to Amazon or they could go to eBay and be like, if you want to buy us, give us $1 billion and we will sell you StockX. We just want our $1 billion now. And now with that $1 billion, the 10%, that 1 million, I have to pay that 10% back now. That 10% is now 100 million. So VCs don't care about the small term wins because they're in it for the long term win. If I sell it for $1 billion and I have 10% equity stake, I just made $100 million on that investment. So
yeah, and the way they justify it too is they're gonna do 10 investments, say for $1 million each. So now they're 10 million in, right? They'll probably lose on 9, which means they lost 9 million, but the one gets them 100 million. So they don't give a shit. All they need is the one to go.
That one 10x or 100x that original investment. So now they've got enough money to do a whole nother round. They've got to pay everybody to give their bonuses and to do a whole nother round of funding. And that's why some of these are $1 trillion VC companies, because 2 or 3 of them have hit now, or 4 or 5 have hit in a year's time. you do the math, you've made $1 billion off of your investments now. So my ultimate goal is to sell thrift market and to start a VC company. And I want to be able to invest.
Big goals.
Yeah, I want to be able to invest in like minority owned companies. Like that's one of my goals, in minority owned tech companies. Because the journey for me has been crazy, dude. And like if we're looking at funding, like funding for companies of color is less than 1%. And it's $1 trillion market. It's less than 1% of funding that goes to like tech companies with black owners. Less than 1%. So like it was stressful and I got angry, dude. I got so angry with like going through this process, going to like pitch to VCs. VCs like, oh, we love the idea. We love it. And so there's rounds. There's rounds also. So like we're pre-revenue round. Our app has not been built. We're not to the market. We don't have money. We're pre-revenue. There are VC companies that say we are pre-revenue venture capital companies. We go pitch to these companies and they'd be like, okay, so where's your revenue? Such an oxymoron, because it's like, dude, you're literally saying you're pre-revenue, but you're asking us for our revenue right now. Like, so I got so frustrated with it. And the funding that we had was actually through a private investor. I have a consulting company even right now. I have a technology consulting company. So I help people find partners to build AI projects, mobile apps, website builds, all of that. Just from working in tech, I've built a really good network. So it's really just passing off like lobs to companies that I know would be good for projects. But this client, I helped build an app for them, and they asked me to start leading the marketing. So I was leading the marketing for their project as well. And we went to actually a meeting for them for a VC company or a tech company, but they have a VC company as well. And they asked me like, yo, how's your app going? So my client was like, oh, you have an app. He heard about it. He was interested, talked to him. His son's in the NBA. It was like, yeah, we want to invest. We'll give you the money. Pretty much I pitched the app to him. Like, I want to hear it. Pitch it to us. We pitched it to them. They loved it. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, okay, we'll invest. Bro, it felt like, it's an old saying, like, bro, like a rabbit chasing a carrot on a string that they're never going to get, dude. They were just fucking pulling that string, man. Like, yo, we're supposed to get funded now. We didn't get it. Oh, it's going to take a couple months. We're going through this process. We need his contract to get done. His contract gets done. Boom, 6 months go by, still nothing. It's like, dude, I'm getting tired of waiting. And like, yeah, they're paying us on the other side. So cool. But we got into a conflict about it because he honestly just couldn't read his contract. Like, my billable hours are my billable hours. If you're paying for marketing, you have to pay that expense yourself. That's not, he was like, no, that comes out of your billable hours. When he said that, I'm like, you're not respecting my time. You're not respecting my work. You're not respecting what we've done for you, dude. Like, well, this app was based in Nigeria. I've never been to Nigeria, and we're having 5 million views on these posts that are happening. And to not acknowledge that rubbed me all the way the wrong way. And I was already like pissed because you had us on this journey.
You're talking about your app or some other app now?
My app. Well, my client's app. This was my client's app. We were doing the number 4 in Nigeria, and we disagreed on that from my consulting company. But when I saw he did that, I was already pissed. And I'm like, dude, I'm just walking away. And when I say I'm walking away from everything. We don't want the money. I don't want to continue on this project. So I ended that project and walked away from the money. And yeah, I had that meeting with my team, and they were, everybody stuck on board. Everybody was like, dude, we believe in the vision. We know what we're doing. Like, let's stick with it and do what we got to do.
Yeah. So I guess speaking on that, it's like you got your team. Your team's probably all invested personally because they're investing their time to make it work for you. So that it's like, that's what happens a lot in these startups too. You found the team, you have them do the work, and everyone's banking on this thing going somewhere so they can make the long-term money, right?
Yeah. And yeah, man, my team is amazing, dude. Shout out to everybody from Quentin, marketing, based out of Atlanta. Man, he's actually worked at StockX. worked at some other big agencies and as well, big in the resale game, in the vintage game, sneaker world. But he's been on board since pretty much day one. Our head, like the guy that created all the graphics and what the apps looks like, his name is Jerry. He actually worked at Complex and he's at Timberland right now. But all the posts that you see, any graphics you see on Complex and Timberland's page, he's the guy that does it. He's dope. So all of our posts, he's the guy that does it. Shout out to him. He's amazing as well. Dreads as well. Matt, he's been helping on the tech side. He's been a part of some great apps being built as well. So his expertise has been awesome. Kaleche, like, man, my team has been awesome. Bennett, our intern, he's been a reseller, but he's been one of the guys really dialed in on the AI side. He's been a reseller, but like, so he understood this and he's been great. So like, this shit wouldn't be possible without them. Like, I'm not tech savvy. I'm not graphic designer. I'm not none of that. So like, my team is really dope. And like, we just added on somebody else, Tay. He used to do marketing over at BBC, based out of New York. Super dope as well. So man, we got a rock star team. Super excited to just like have everybody believe in the vision, and be on board to push this. And yeah, it's been a ride, but I couldn't have asked for a better team to have on board with me throughout this journey than those guys. So shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to the team. Hell yeah. You need your ride or dies, man. It's mad important.
Got to, dude. Got to.
So let's talk Complex Con. You're launching this at Complex Con,
Yes.
which is November 17th.
16th and 17th.
16th and 17th. I've done Complex Con. It's a big event. It's like the number one event in streetwear. And now like they've incorporated vintage in the last like 3-4 years where they've done, I'm pretty sure ThriftCon has a whole setup there. Where
they have
like
a whole setup. And if y'all watch this, man, get us in y'all booth for the next one. We've been trying to get in contact with y'all. Y'all see we're real. We're real. Holler at us. Had to make that plea. But yeah, I believe ThriftCon is going to be there. But yeah, man, we were fortunate enough to collaborate, share booth space with Barriers. They Barriers Vintage. He also has just one of the biggest streetwear brands out right now, Barriers Worldwide. Couple years back, me and the founder Barter, we developed a pretty dope relationship. I honestly started selling them vintage. I have a pretty crazy collection. Like, I primarily collect like black nostalgic vintage 80s, 90s movies, rap, jazz, civil rights, things like that. That's primarily what I collect myself. He's a big buyer of that as well. So we kind of collaborated and he made some bombers out of crew necks that I had a couple years ago and displayed them at New York Fashion Week in 2022. So I was able to go out there and check those out. So we've kind of developed a pretty dope relationship. Told him that I was launching the app and trying to get down there. He was like, cool, bro, you can get space here. So we've got our space there. And we'll actually have some teas on deck as well. I'm actually going to bring some bangers down. To have. I'm going to have just a booth kind of like a real or fake. Can you spot which one is real or fake? A lot of people, like you said, they don't know. So just really want to educate people, let them see, going to be doing some giveaways, probably 4 or 5 tees that we're going to give away, some rock and rap tees, some pretty high value dope tees. But anybody can enter that. All you got to do is download the app. So it will be available nationwide. Also North America, Canada as well, Mexico also. So out of North America and some of South America to be available.
So for people listening here that aren't going to be there, when does this thing drop on the App Store? During Complex Con, like the 16th?
No. So November 7th. November 7th. It will drop for sellers. Sellers can go on there and start uploading content on the 7th. So we'll make a post about that and things like that. If this goes out before then we can, please sign up. But I want sellers to start uploading, and having content on there because the nationwide full launch will be on that 16th and 17th, available in the App Store for Google and Apple.
Okay, great. How's that process been, getting it on the app stores?
We're dealing with it. We had our meeting today. Not bad as of right now. Our dev team is really dealing with this whole process, and they've launched hundreds of apps, so they know this process like the back of their hands. I submitted all of our information. It gets submitted. We submit everything next week. Actually, next Monday. It's my birthday on the 28th. We submit everything on my birthday. Yeah, so that's super dope.
My
We're
birthday is
submitting
my birthday
everything.
is the 28th of August. 28.
Oh,
Good
fire,
number,
fire.
man.
28th. Yeah, yeah. 28th, man. 2 plus 8. Perfect tens, man. Perfect
Hell yeah.
tens. You know, uh, yeah, so no, it gets sent in that day. And I guess it takes about a week for everything to get, verified. So the expected launch date is that following Monday, that following Monday, which is like the 6th or the 7th. That's when I want people to start uploading product on there. When I get access to it, I get access to it probably this week, and I'll start testing. I'll probably do a walkthrough demo on live, maybe hop on and kind of show just what we have so far. I know there's some features they told us that they have to do in their meet for our like final demo on next week before it's submitted. So like the maps and things aren't added yet, but that'll be done this week. And even like now, I'll probably like have people submit their stores in and stuff like that so that they can be on the maps if they want them in there. But the process has been cool. Now it's just a lot of tech meetings, getting demos, getting to see the process, which is dope. Like I sketched these out in a notepad. I sketched what I thought this would look like out 4 years ago. So for a minute to go to that, to them being graphic, like, making the digital graphics, to it actually being coded. Man, it's almost surreal. It's surreal, almost like.
That's good for you, man. That's very dope. That's very dope that you've been able to see your vision through the process. That's one of the hardest things. A lot of people have ideas, but not a lot of people actually execute their ideas.
Man, yeah, you had good intentions, but you lack execution. That's one of my favorite lines from Larry June, man. That's so true, dude. Like,
And, I think about this a lot because education without action is bullshit, really. A lot of people can know a lot of things or have cool ideas, but if you're not going to take the action to get it done or do anything with the information, then it really isn't.
yeah,
It's not that valuable.
you could be book smart, but not have no street smarts. And the street smart side is where the hustle comes in, and I think where that work ethic and that drive comes in. And I've been doing this for a long time, man. Like I said, man, I've been a hustler, man. And I've done good and bad, man. But I've always known how to work my ass off, man, and know how to get shit done. And I just kind of really took that same passion and like that same drive and just put it in a tech style. You're like funding this app for the past couple of years, man, like has been crazy, dude. Like the past 4 months, I've been going crazy on Amazon. I've been doing Amazon selling, dude, and it's been going crazy. Like, and now I've gotten to the
So
point
what do you
where I
mean?
do
What are you
wholesaling.
selling? What are you selling on Amazon? Vintage?
No, dude, I came into a plug to where I was able to buy semis, and now now I had like a whole semi of Bath and Body Works, and I've been cooking, and but I have so much inventory that like I started a whole wholesaling business, and I sell pallets to Amazon sellers now. So I'll sell like $20,000 worth of inventory for $5K, and do that, and like I rented a space in my warehouse where there's a bunch of Amazon sellers, dude. So like a lot of these dudes just have been coming to my warehouse, and that's how I've been paying for the app, man. I've been able to just
Fucking right.
let me buy 100K of inventory. Boom, here you go. That's 20 for me. Boom, now I could go pay the app. And then I got my store just cooking, bro. So like, I've been a hustler. I'm gonna figure a way out, and that's kind of.
I love that shit.
Yeah.
A lot of people in this business, I talk about this a lot on the show too, but some of the biggest deals we've ever done have been not vintage. And
Not
we had one
vintage,
this
dude.
summer, man. Like vintage is great. We all love vintage. We all love the nostalgia. We all love the hunt,
Yeah.
especially. But the thing
Yeah,
is, like,
yeah.
if you can find a deal outside of vintage, like this summer I bought Roxy, Billabong, Quicksilver, surf and snowboard gear. Like I
Wait,
bought
crazy though.
I bought what was it? Like 24 pallets.
I saw that.
Yeah, 24. That's like the most margin I've ever made on a product. It was insane. I still have shitloads of it for next summer, and I've made probably like 15x my money or something stupid.
Dude, I got like 26 more pallets coming in. Like my dad, I do this with my dad. Like I got this, like on Wednesday, we should get our confirmation and go pick up the rest of the pallets. Like, dude, and we renewed it to where I got this contract for all of 2025 too. And like, I got I got a crazy one. As entrepreneurs, you start to learn the process, man. Like, this is I love like therapy for me is going to the bins. I like just going to the bins and put my AirPods in, bro, and just digging, bro. Like, that's therapeutic for me, man. Like, I've learned how to be a businessman though over these past years, and I've learned how to make shit make sense. And like, yeah, I could go to my storage unit and sell vintage teas all day long, but dude, there's other ways to make money in vintage. That why not be the platform for sellers and buyers to come on? And now we just have a dope ass marketplace. Like, nobody has done this before. And like, I know every reseller has thought about it. That, like, I know everybody's like, dude, there's got to be a way to fucking take a picture and authenticate this shit. Like, especially when StockX came out, everybody was like, all right, when's this coming out for vintage? Who's going to do this for vintage? You know, and it was like, shit, it didn't come. It didn't come. Well, fuck it. I'll do it. I'm crazy enough to, and like, I got enough faith to believe, like, dude, if I put the work in, only good shit can happen. Like, you can make plans, bro, but the best plans is to just fucking put the work in, dude. If you put the work in, the right shit's gonna happen, man.
Execute. Figure out the problems as you go. That's the only way. You'll never figure out all the problems before you start.
Progress over perfection, man. For real. Yeah. Progress over perfection. Big time.
Okay, I love that one. Progress over perfection. Yeah. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, let's call it there, man. I wish you all the luck on this venture. I'm super stoked for you. I can't wait to get in there. I can't wait for people to see the AI in action. You know, it's a competitive market, but it sounds like you're a real smart guy. You know what you're doing.
Thank you, man.
Again, I just wish you all the luck.
Early for sure.
All right.
Man, all right. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Of course.
Please download Thrift Market when it comes out. Follow us. Stay tuned to what's happening. We got some dope shit coming. So just stay tuned, man. Thank you for having us.
Jake wants your feedback. Go download it. Go check it out.
Please. Talk
Give him
shit
your
about
feedback.
It. Send us
hit him up.
Do all of that, man. For real. We want to test us. Try us.
This is the challenge, guys. Post your fakes. Post your fakes on the app and test the AI.
Yes,
that's what you got to do. Go through the process.
Like,
post your real ones. Post your fakes. Try them both. We've all been had by fakes. We probably all have fakes sitting in some part of our warehouse because we got duped.
Of course.
Post them up. See what's up. Check the AI. We're in the future right now.
Yeah. Send them in, man. We need them. We want them. And it's just going to help this technology get better in the long run for all of us. So, man, Drew, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Over and out.
All right, man. Peace out.
All right, guys, there you have it. First episode back in a long time, but happy to be back. And thanks, Jake, for coming on the show. Everyone go check out the Thrift Market app. Download it now, test it out, post some shirts, see if the AI works. That's what it's all about. See if the AI works and teach the AI how to authenticate. Anyway, lots of episodes coming up. Stoked to see you guys and be back very, very soon with more mind-numbing content for you guys. Peace and love.